So, hello and welcome to the Authentic You podcast today. I'm very excited to be joined by the lovely Fiona today on the podcast and for our conversation today. So, those joining on YouTube, hello, you can see us. Those on the audio, there is a YouTube version of this as well. So, I'm going to just read out your bio, Fiona, and then you can add anything on that you want to add in terms of introducing yourself. So, Fiona C Joy is a powerful guide who helps people live their most authentic life through shadow work, entity clearing, and identity shifts. She activates deep spiritual transformation that leads to real freedom and alignment. Her work includes Alchemize, The Shadow Alchemist, The Bridge, and Frequency Shift. What a lovely bio, Fiona. Anything you want to add to that?
No, just that I've been doing this work since 2011. So I've been around for quite a while, and during that time, I've transformed the business quite a few times. As I'm sure we all do, and everybody's in this field, you find that you learn and you pivot and you transform as you grow. So yeah, I've been around for a long time.
Love it. Thank you, Fiona. I'm excited for our conversation today. I think the the sense I have for this conversation today, well, actually, I have two senses for this conversation today already. One was reading out your bio, was that I know a lot of people listening are going to be like, oh, wow, they're going to be really paying attention because um, I feel like that's going to be really in alignment with a lot of our listeners. Um, and the other thing is, I feel this conversation is going to go deep today. And I feel this is the reason why we've kind of connected in the way we have anyway. And, you know, the experiences that you've had and the conversations that we've had, it kind of feels like there's not that level of depth out there, and like what we actually need right now and where we're at on the planet right now is we need spaces where we can be held at that depth and find people that actually hold us at that depth and have that awareness. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Although I said I've been around since 2011 doing this work, people will go, well, how come I haven't heard your name or haven't really known that you do this kind of work? Because I was very much in the spiritual closet
Hmm.
because of the stuff that we're going to talk about isn't mainstream. And you know, you almost shadow ban yourself
Hmm.
from coming out and being persecuted because you are going to go deep and this work is depth. I remember channeling something for myself a few years ago, and it said what I got was the Sisters of Compassion do their work in the shadows. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
our really highly sensitive people that are doing this work have been doing it unpaid in the shadows, out of the
Yeah.
limelight for the light. And
Hmm.
now I feel is the time where people are being called to actually stand up in their truth and their integrity and just go, I cannot deny this part of myself anymore. I cannot deny that this is who I am. This is the work that I'm here to bring. So I really hope that does inspire people today to be their authentic selves and bring their gifts and bring what their medicine is to the table because we're at that point in humanity's um, journey where we need that balance. We need people to come
Yeah.
and bring that balance. So I'm really delighted that we did cross paths. I think we've got so much in common, and I think some of the programs that I've did with yourself and some of the work has probably inspired me to be able to come and get out the closet and just be me.
I love that so much. Yeah, that's amazing. And you're right about doing the work in the shadows and doing just, you know, like I think we should dive into the story about your experience really because I feel like that brings it to life. Do you want to just um yeah, do you want to just share what happened to you on a recent trip? I won't give anything away. I'll let you share and then we can go deeper from there.
Sure. So I joined one of your programs. What what's it called again? This is terrible. I can't even remember. I just
Quantum
closed.
alignment.
Yes, quantum alignment, and but the May one, the one that we've just finished in
Our
May,
main character May.
main
Yeah.
character May.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
that,
just
and we've just
naming
finished.
programs.
I know, sorry,
We'll get there in the end.
we've just finished main character May today. So I really decided at the start of May when this came about, I want in that. I'm going to be the main character because I already felt that May was going to be quite a potent month in terms of me not being afraid to be visible anymore. So I went, I'm just jumping right in, and I love your work anyway. So I jumped right in, and with that coincided a trip to Bath with my husband to see some family, and I think I shared with you that I felt I didn't want to go. So we were due to go, and the night before I said, I'm not going. I'm not going to go to Bath. And my husband's really supportive and went, well, that's fine. If you get a lot on, you don't feel like doing it, don't go. Um, and I thought, what is this about? And I thought all the 3D physical stuff, I'm quite busy. I've got this for work, I've got that. But there was something deeper. And by the Thursday afternoon, the next day, I decided I will go. We're flying out that night. And I said, I will go. I've decided that I'm going to go because something told me I had to go. So I always follow that yes. You always say, follow your yes. So I followed that hunch and where I'm going to go. The plane tickets were already booked, the hotel was booked. So off we went, and from the start it felt a bit clunky. The plane was delayed. There was no toilets open in the airport. All the toilets were shut. We went onto the plane. The toilets in the plane was only one working at the back. It just felt like, oh no, I think I've made a mistake. I feel like there's stuff going in my path that maybe I shouldn't be here. Anyway, we got there, stayed with family the first night. Second night, we went to go to a hotel, and walking up to the hotels when everything really kind of changed, the energy of it. And I'm not going to mention the hotel, the name of the hotel, for I'll explain
Yeah.
why. Um, but I went, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't like this energy. And I said to my husband, I don't like it. And he said, you're not even get yet in the door. And I went, I don't feel, and I can actually feel the feelings just now coming back,
Hmm.
mirroring back to me. Um, so we got into a room and I couldn't even take my shoes off. There was just so much dis-ease in my body. My body was saying, this is not okay. And I said to my husband, I'd like to leave. And he was like, you've just got here. Anyway, he jumped in for a shower, and that's when everything changed in the room. And for anybody that's listening, I was very psychic at one point. I had all my clairs open, and about 2012 it became too much. And I actually started to shut down some of that because it was really overwhelming. And I used to say I was intuitive rather than psychic. I'd say I'm just intuitive, but I am psychic, and I have been able to see spirit since I was a young girl. So it's not something that's new to me. However, this experience was when an entity came out of the wall. And I know for a lot of people listening who haven't experienced that, that might sound quite profound or make believe, but this entity came out the wall and I just went straight into my channeling of clearing of what I would usually do. But it was such a powerful, powerful force that I hadn't dealt with something like that
Hmm.
before. Usually things would move on, and it was actually trying to get in and access me through my throat, access through my heart, and round the back, accessing through my solar plexus. But I just stood in my own power, knowing that I am the strongest entity in my own reality, and
Hmm.
compassionately trying to help this entity, because that's what it's about. And we'll probably touch on that
Yeah.
later on. It's about trying to see it not as something that's outside of ourselves, or something that we should banish, or
Hmm.
it's about helping it move on with compassion. So it then moved, and I thought, well, it's not gone. I could just tell with my own senses it's not gone. And ended up there was three mirrors in the room. One of them was quite antique, which actually it was a portal, and we can go into that, and that's very beautiful.
Hmm.
It started to bounce throughout the three mirrors. Um, After a few few more minutes time of doing my clearing, I managed to get it to move on. Just as then my husband's coming out and I'm standing there, as you can imagine, my nervous system was then into
Yeah.
overdrive, and he's
Yeah.
going, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, there is an entity in the room." And my husband totally gets my back, and he's loving the fact that I'm now coming on here and being able to share some of it. Although it's not his experience,
Mm.
he knows that it's my experience and accepts that, and I think that's beautiful as well.
That is
Um,
beautiful.
for anybody listening who's maybe frightened about the family or people
Mm.
judging their own gifts,
Hmm.
if it's the right people that's around you, then they will get you and they will accept
Definitely.
you as you are. So yeah, so that was just part of that was part one. Um, we then decided, I said, I think it might be gone, but I'm still feeling uneasy about this place. I don't really think I want to stay here, but can we maybe go out for a walk, go for something to eat, help my nervous system and help me ground, and then we can come back and I'll see how I feel from a place of being grounded. And we said, absolutely. So we went out and I was asking Source, and I remember said, God, Source, I feel that I have to go back and stay there tonight. There's a massive part of me that does not want to do this, but I know that I am supposed to do this. And I'm probably going to get a bit emotional because it was quite emotional because it was very much an initiation that had taken place after.
Yeah.
So I said, I trust you've got my back. However, can you just humour my physical me, right? The
Hmm.
3D version of me, and give me a sign to know that you've got my back. So can you send me angel wings? And we've literally walked, literally less than a minute, and we both stopped and looked up at this building. And I think I've showed you the picture and I've put it on
Yeah.
social media. There was these Archangel Michael and these massive angel wings with a sword, and it talked about protection. And I just stopped in my tracks. So did my husband at this point, because I said, you know, I just asked for that sign. And he was like, he was a bit taken aback. And then we went, let's go in. And it was a beautiful, I'm vegetarian, and it was a beautiful vegetarian Indian restaurant. And when we went in, it wasn't about the food, it was about the environment, it was about being held, it was about being nourished, it was about being
Hmm.
supported. And it was about knowing that in that minute I felt like everything was just in alignment. And yeah, just the people were beautiful, the food was beautiful, the energy was beautiful. And
Hmm.
the name itself translates into companion and guide. And that's what I call myself rather than a coach. So there was just all these little nods from the universe. Um, so yeah, so we finished for dinner and we went, right, okay, I'm going to go back home. But I jumped into Morrison's, the human part. We jumped into Morrison's and we got some sage and some fresh sage and some salt and some bay leaves and things for to do my own clearing that I usually would do. And we went back to the hotel, even though part of me really did not want to. The human part thought this is going to be a night of it. I knew that there was going to be more to follow, and there was. So basically, I did not get to sleep till 6 o'clock that morning, because of the amount of activity and earthbound spirits that were in that place and were coming for help, telling me their names, telling me, what room they were in, could they help, and it was relentless, relentless. Um, and I was able to help some people move on, and at the same time, and I think we talked about this before about the polarity and the duality of it.
Hmm.
Here's the part that's to do with um, the entities, the dark, the unknown, the fear. And then there was that part where I felt like God and Source had my total back and went, this is something you need to do.
Hmm.
We're just going to do it. And do you know what? There was a Take That song that went through my head repeatedly that night, right? And it was Hold Up a Light for Me, I'll Be Watching You. That was the lyrics that kept going through. And it was very much, you're fine, it's the light.
Yeah.
It's and that's what got me through. Plus, my husband, I woke him up a few times. I was like, "Can you just give me a hug? This is
Yeah.
overwhelming." And he was so supportive, and he actually felt some of the stuff
Mm.
as well. It's not something he usually experiences. Um, and the next day we got another hotel because and I did check in with Source and said, "Is there anything? Is there anything else that I can do here to help? Um, or is it okay that I go and look after myself because that's been quite taxing on my physical body,
Mm.
you know?" And I think I shared this with you that was a massive pivot for me in terms of putting myself first, not being that self-sacrificing where, I've got to go and clear all of this. Having a boundary and saying, I think I've done enough. But we left our bags there, we went out for the day, and we came back and I did one final check to say, is there anything else that I can do here before I go? And there was, but I'm not going to share that on this podcast today. That was one thing, but I'm not going to share that today. And then we left and we got another hotel. And my husband then looked out the window of this hotel and burst out laughing and said, I thought you were getting away from doing clearing entities? And I said, I am. And I went, oh, what is it? Went to the window and there was a graveyard. It was a cemetery. But do you know what? Do you know what I took from that was that's about people resting in peace. And it
Yeah.
was a little nod. It was a little nod and a little wink from Source saying, thank you for helping people find some peace. So there was lots of other synchronicities, and we've probably not got time to go into that today. There was loads of other synchronicities. Everything was just really in aligned for that trip. But it's when I came back and I contacted yourself because I knew that I had taken on quite a lot and hadn't transmuted everything. I knew that I was carrying some earthbound spirits. So contacted yourself and got a clearing. And before I went on to the call, when I was checking myself, how many earthbound spirits do I think there is? And I got 50. And then I call you got 53. So there was three that I
Yeah.
couldn't
I
quite.
was like, can't possibly be 53 because I went through the numbers. It's like
Yeah,
24 more,
yeah,
53. I was like, no, it can't be. I went 53 and you went, yeah, 50.
yeah. Absolutely, because that's what I got before I came on,
Yeah.
50. And I remember when I came to you, I had that, my nervous system at this point was just,
Hmm.
oh, I was holding on at this point, and I thought I need some support to kind of help people move on. And there was an experience before I got on the call, and I'll share that with people, where there was one person that came forward and she said she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go to the light because she wanted to experience the physicality
Mm.
through me. And I went out to my garden. I went, okay, well, we'll go out to my garden. Let's feel the grass. And it was a sunny day in Scotland, which is rare. Um, let's feel the sun. And I remember speaking to her and saying, I know you've endured a lot. You've been trapped in that building. You've endured a lot. But it's your time to go. And actually, when I got on the call with Gemma, you'll be going anyway. So do you want to go with your own accord? And then she said no. But by the time I come up the stairs and felt, and I went, oh, she's gone. And she had moved on already. And then we did the work to get to help the rest of them move on. So that's a very short, narrowed down version of that story. I don't know, at that point, I'll probably stop and take a breath.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fiona, for sharing that with us. And I think there's many things in that that are so important for people to hear. Like the first layer of that I'm hearing is actually, and you and I may have done this in the past, pre 2011, walked into a hotel and thought, oh, I feel like maybe I'm poorly, maybe like I'm anxious, maybe we make it mean something.
Yep.
Like, you now know, you walked in and you were like, okay, there is clearly a spiritual issue here. Like the
Yeah.
toilets, the issues on the way. So, like, firstly, there was that, like, straight away you had that awareness, um, which I think is something, even just sharing that here is going to help people. Like, I
Yeah.
know so many times I've like been places or experienced things and it's literally just energy. And like you say, that deeper call into that initiation. And what I love about the way that you've so humbly described this story, Fiona, is that there's no ego. So,
Hmm.
there were 53 souls that needed moving on, and you you didn't go, right, this is I'm meant to be here, this is clearly like my purpose, but you didn't take any of that on with ego, and you just sense checked with source, and then you did the free will check. And this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
And this was a big part of my journey as well, is that I was constantly getting taken places to clear them. And I think a lot of people have probably heard the story about when the client gifted me a week in her holiday home in Croatia, and I genuinely thought it was a free holiday. It was not. It was an initiation, and this sort of happened to me a lot. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, now I'm here for this now. Now I can't have a holiday. And so that awareness that you had of actually, I've got free will here, and yes,
Yeah.
I will help. I'll check in with God source to say, okay, like where's we need to have a boundary here, because you could have been there, clearing and clearing and clearing for days. And I guess the other part of that free will is like there's probably been like owners of that hotel, there's been people that have stayed in that hotel. um I'm trying not to say the name, because as soon as you
Yeah.
said you're not going to say the name, I knew what the name was, so I'm not.
Don't say it.
I was
Don't
like,
say it.
no. So yeah, the free will of the people that have been in that building, that have owned that building as well, that's also an important part of that puzzle, right?
Hmm.
Because we only have permission to clear where we have permission and where our free will goes. We can't mess with anyone else's free will. So any like decisions or behaviors. So I'm hearing like that in your story as well. So it feels like there's many layers.
Oh, absolutely. And, Energy 101, what I've always taught my clients is, you wouldn't go into somebody's house uninvited and go rummage through their knicker drawer, the underwear drawer. You have to ask for
Yeah.
permission. You have to do that check. It's just basic
Mhm.
energy hygiene. You just wouldn't go into empty space. And it's very much the same as that place. It is about checking that out first. And it is, you're right, it's about having a strong ego. And people think a strong ego is about either being egotistical or
Mhm.
it's not. It's about having a sense of self
Mhm. Yeah.
and understanding your ego and not trying to push your ego down, and just having that sense of self and checking in with source. Is this aligned? Am I supposed to do this? And knowing the cut-off point as well, not having that martyrdom of, I'll do it all, then I'll clear
Mhm.
it all. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
look, I'm
think,
so exhausted because I did it
yeah,
all.
yeah, absolutely. It was like, no,
Yeah.
and I just knew myself. There's still loads to clear, but it doesn't have to be all me that it's not all me. There's more people that will be called there. And that's why I'm not sharing it as well for many reasons, but I'm not sharing it so people go looking because I don't
Yeah.
think that's how it works. It's not how it works. I've
No.
never looked for entities
Mm-mm.
throughout my career,
No, me
yet they
neither.
find me. They find
Yeah.
me. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. And the first entity I cleared was in 2011, and it was like 2 months after I had literally started my business and was not expecting that. And that was my first initiation
Mhm.
um, into it. So, yeah.
I know how that feels. Mine was in Glastonbury and it was 8 foot tall and I was alone in a converted barn and it woke me
Oh
up at
my,
3 in the morning and I had no idea what it even was. So
oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I definitely an initiation because like, okay, well this is clearly happening for a reason.
Yeah.
What's this? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's not,
yeah.
it can be tough on your physical body and your nervous system,
Mhm. I
you
can
know?
remember screaming for help in the
Yeah.
night, like in my head. I was screaming for help. The next day, I got a text from one of my mentors saying, "Are you okay? I woke up at 3 thinking of you." I was like, "Yeah, I was screaming for
I'm
your
screaming
help."
for help. Yeah. Yeah, you've came in my dreams plenty of times as well, But again, I know I've not got lots of time, so maybe I'll have to come back on and
Do
share
part
some of the other
two.
experiences. But yeah, you've came in my dreams and helped me, and I've went the next day. You were in my dream last night, and this is what you'd said. So, and I think what I would hope people take from today as well is it really takes a team. It takes a team. You don't do this work in
Yeah,
isolation, even though it might be you that's
yeah,
physically doing
yeah.
it. I came back and went. And that's about the ego as well. It's not about saying,
Hmm.
oh, I do this
Yeah.
work. I should be able to clear myself. And I
Hmm.
always say to you, thanks for having my back. Thanks for
Hmm.
having my back because we all need support. And it will, many hands make light work. It's something
Hmm.
that I always like to say, make light work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It takes us all. It takes us all to bring our gifts to the table, and we don't have to have all the answers.
Definitely. And you covered part three that I was going to share. That was part three was me saying that you then asked for help, but my brain went completely off
Yeah.
somewhere else. So thank you for bringing that in, that third point. That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it, isn't it? Like, and that I think that is beautiful. Like asking for the support and being able to have that support where you're held at that depth and you have that team to support you. Um, and I think that depth piece is really important here because and this is where I see things shifting and changing like in this new paradigm. This is like we're going to see more and more of this over the next few years of the spiritual space like go into that depth. We're going to hear more about entity clearing, we're going to hear more about this stuff. Like it's been almost sort of like you say, it's being done in the shadows or not being done at all, not even being talked
Yeah.
about, or the glamorization. I wonder, like with the hotel as well, like the glamorization of ghost hunting. Let's just go and like experience it and then not even think to help. Like it just
Exactly.
like blows my
It,
mind.
absolutely. And that's it. It's about compassion. Everything you do should be compassion for the greatest good for all.
Yeah.
All. Even the entities. And I will say that you had picked up that the entity was an arch demon,
Hmm.
right? Which I then went, well, that makes sense, how it was so
Yeah.
powerful and it was bouncing around all the mirrors, and how I was absolutely frazzled. And that's the thing. How can we, why do we have this idea of archangels, the light,
Hmm.
but not archdemons or the dark? We live in
Yeah.
a world of polarity. We have male and female, night and day. We have the also
Hmm.
opposites, morning and night. And I think that's the thing. We have the new age has helped us focus on solely the light, and it's
Hmm.
disenfranchised the darkness within us. And the reason
Yeah.
that I can do this work is because I can own my own darkness.
Yeah.
I can
Totally.
say,
Goes
I've
hand
been
in
there.
hand, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So
Mm.
you're able to do that depth. You're able to
Hmm.
go to the shadows and go to the light because you're not scared of your own darkness.
Hmm.
And that's why people need to start doing their shadow work. And I know shadow work's been bandied about now. Like it was like women's empowerment a few years ago. The word empowerment
Hmm.
was everywhere. Shadow work's everywhere.
Hmm.
So what I would say to people is get yourself someone really good who can help
Hmm.
you initiate that shadow work, because it's hard to start. But see, once you start, it becomes easier and easier, and then you become the authentic you because you
Hmm.
own all parts. And see, when you own all parts, that's when you really get into alignment with
Hmm.
your purpose, because you're needed. You can get it. You can own that. You can own it. Your ego's in balance.
Yeah.
Everything's in balance, and you can then work with real integrity. Real integrity. So yeah, and it is really needed just now. And I know there's loads of
Mm.
people. My clients are really fantastic at clearing, but they don't own those parts of themselves still
Hmm.
just now. And I'm hoping that that's what I'll be able to do, because I'm now out of the closet. I'm now out of the
Yeah.
closet saying, yeah, this is what I do.
Hmm.
And I spoke to my children as well before doing this, going, are you all right when we speak? They're like, yeah. I made it the issue. And my husband, I was like, are you sure you're okay with me talking about this stuff online? And he's like, yeah. And I thought it was a big issue for people,
Amazing.
and it wasn't. It was an issue
No.
for
Hmm. I love that. And I love um how you talked about shadow work and how that leads to that, that authentic version of you because you've alchemized all parts of you. And
yeah,
I've just realized there's like a bit of analogy here. When people say like when you think about bullies and people say, well, if you've owned all parts of you and you've done shadow work, no one can ever really say anything because you've already looked at those parts of yourself.
yeah,
So it's almost like that with the entity clearing work. If you imagine if you replace bully for, well, not that they bully you, but do you know what I mean? Like you're dealing with
yeah,
something like that, like you're dealing with that darkness. And the reason that you can deal with that and the reason that you've got these powerful gifts to deal with that is because you've looked at your own darkness. So
yeah,
nothing phases you because you've gone to the depth of your own darkness, haven't you? So it's a bit like when people say the bullies thing, like it's like the
yeah.
spiritual level of that.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way of saying it. And I just got full body shivers when you did. Absolutely. It does. And it
Yeah.
is about owning your own darkness. And that's exactly what's helped me, owning my darkness and just knowing that I'm okay, I'm acceptable.
Hmm.
And it's this whole self-love thing as well, right? I don't use the self-love, I talk about self-acceptance, because
Yeah.
self-love's too much for some people. They go, oh, I
Yeah.
can never think of that. But can you accept yourself? Can you
Hmm.
accept those parts? Now, I'm not saying I'm sitting here and my shadow work is done and my work is done. It really
Hmm.
isn't. It's going to
Ongoing.
be ongoing. It's ongoing
Yeah.
until you leave this earthly plane. And I'm sure I'll uncover more and more and more and have to accept those parts as well. But yeah, that's what I would say about today. People start looking at those parts of yourself, because even if your journey isn't involving entities, if it isn't, but if you're listening today, and the thing is that if you can learn to accept yourself, the world shifts as well.
Mhm.
The more you can accept yourself, the world shifts.
Love that. So if someone was listening to this thinking, I'd really like to go deeper with my spiritual work, what tips would you give them?
Slow down. The very first thing I would say is slow down. Again, the ego will get you to speed up and think that
Hmm.
you're not where you should be just now. I always arrive on time. And that's what I've learned over these couple of decades is you will arrive on time where you're meant to be. There is no rush. So why don't you just slow down? Because when you slow down, you're more aware. That's and awareness is your personal power. Because when you are aware, especially if you're highly sensitive, and you maybe not know you're highly sensitive, but especially if you're highly sensitive, if you're whizzing about, you don't know what's yours, what's in there. We talked about this at the start. Is it my anxiety? Is it, coming on well? Whereas if you move through life at a slower pace, you're much more aware of what your energy is. And when something does, you do pick something up, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not mine. So absolutely slow down. You are on time. You will arrive where you're supposed to be on time. Um, and as I said, do start the shadow work. Start the shadow work. Start small. Start small. And bring more compassion in everything you do, starting with yourself, and
Mm.
stop seeing the world as in black and white and so clearly defined. It's not. There's a big grey. There's a big grey area as well. But practicing compassion. That would be my top three.
Mm. Love that. Beautiful advice. Thank you so much, Fiona. Yeah,
Oh, thank
I
you.
absolutely love that. So we could talk forever, but I think we probably need to we probably need to, but we can do a part two. So
Yes.
yeah, so for people listening to this, how can they get in touch with you and work with you?
Well, I've not really got a great big online presence, as I said, because I've been doing my work in the shadows. But if you can, I've got an Instagram page. I have a new website that's been developed, and I'm about to actually relaunch my program called Alchemize, which I've ran twice now. That'll be being launched on the 9th of June. And that's all about learning to accept yourself. And it's the first kind of step into the foundations of shadow work. So it's a 4-week program. If people are interested, then check out my Instagram and you'll find more details there from the 9th of June.
Amazing. And I'll put all your links in the show notes of this episode as
Oh,
well.
thank
Amazing.
you.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Fiona, for coming on.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Gemma. Your work
You're
is
so
your work is amazing. And thank you for having me back.
You're amazing. Thank you for coming on today. I think it's going to really, really shift the thinking of a lot of people listening and watching. I keep forgetting we're watching as well. Like, hi, people watching.
Thank you.
Amazing. We'll leave it there. Take care. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.